I want to continue our conversation, though, about voter suppression and now focus in. So earlier I spoke first about absentee ballots being rejected at abnormally high rates in some places. I want to now dial in and focus on the voter purges because we've had a bunch of different systems in various states across the country pulling people off of the voter rolls, deregistering people. And a common tactic for deregistrations is to target poor, democratic, disproportionately minority areas because those groups tend to vote more Democratic in the application of a deregistration standard. So you can very easily say, listen, we are establishing an unbiased system that simply says, for example, if you've not voted in 6 years, you're going to be deregistered. Doesn't have anything to do with race, doesn't have anything to do with Democrats, whatever. But then you can choose to run that system only through certain counties' voter registration system. So you can still pick and choose where you apply that. And we have what I guess is good news, even though I worry it's too little too late, out of Ohio, which is that federal judges yesterday ordered that Ohio voters who had been purged because they hadn't voted in 6 years must be re-added to the voter rolls and allowed to vote if they want to. These are all emergencies, okay? And so an emergency motion was granted to a variety of voting rights groups to overturn the ruling, which said that the purging of those Ohio voters was totally legal. The voting rights groups accurately, correctly made the case that a lot of these races are tight and that just by pushing people off the voter rolls, you could actually flip the results of the election, obviously. And the really important point to understand here is why do they claim that it makes sense to remove people from voter rolls? Because just removing someone from voter rolls because they haven't voted, whether it's legal or not, is a different question than what is it that you're trying to achieve by doing that. The right claims that the reason to pull people who haven't voted for 6 years off of voter rolls includes a combination of, number one, there are people who are double registered. So they haven't voted in that place for 6 years because they're registered and voting in some other place, and we shouldn't have those double registrations. Some people have died, and that's why they haven't voted for 6 years, and thus they should be removed from the voter rolls, and that you could have people trying to vote in two places. You could have people showing up and saying, I'm this person who's actually dead, and voting for them. It's all in-person voter fraud possibilities. But that's the key word, possibilities. And that's why, Pat, double registrations or dead people on the rolls, they're not problems in and of themselves unless you actually have a string of people trying to cast double votes, voting twice, voting for dead people. There's no evidence of that. I've been registered in two places for pretty significant periods of time, but I've never attempted to vote in both places. And to my knowledge, based on the records I've seen, no one has shown up at one of the places I'm registered and tried to vote as me. So the mere possibility of that happening is not actually a good reason to say, let's pull these people off the voter rolls.
And there certainly are better solutions to this than just making it so that if you haven't voted for in 6 years, you're just automatically off of the registry. One way to do it would be like how we have here in Massachusetts. I recently moved, and I made it so that I put in my old address as well, so they would kick me off of the last place where I was registered, and I'm only registered in the new place that I live. So that's one way to do it. I guess with regards to if people have died, what you can do there is make the death certificate known to the people running the polling booths, so that automatically you're taking off. I think there are just other solutions to this than purging everyone.
Absolutely, and there are solutions that some states, as you point out, have already put in place. And by the way, the anecdotal cases of actual in-person voter fraud are almost exclusively Republicans trying to prove some kind of political point about how easy it is to vote illegally, and then they get caught. And it turns out it's actually not so easy. So good news from Ohio that these voters are being allowed back in. Same needs to happen in Georgia before it's too late. And before you know it, Trump's going to order another 15,000 troops to the border before people realize that this is actually what's going on in terms of voter disenfranchisement. And this is all about the new Jim Crow. Republicans have pioneered what are really clever. I mean, I kind of hesitate to use that because it sounds almost positive, but These are pretty clever ways to reduce the turnout or the actual number of Democrats who end up voting. They use the farce of voter fraud to justify these measures. It's meant to help Republicans win, and it has helped them win. It's a great strategy for them. The one good thing, if there's anything in this that I can point to, is that the early voting numbers and that the voter registration numbers that we've seen in some places are really, really high, and we're not going to have to wait that much longer to get the results. As I've said, if you have experienced any of these difficulties in voting, please let us know. I'm on Twitter at dpakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show, and we will be talking about this up to and including on Election Day. Today's program was made possible in part by Blinkist.com/Pakman. I love Blinkist. It's the really perfect app for anybody who likes politics and learning. And if you're watching or listening to the David Pakman Show, I'm sure you love politics and learning. And what Blinkist does is take the best and most popular nonfiction books. They condense them into 15-minute audiobooks that you can listen to in one sitting, and you can learn about politics, philosophy, psychology, economics. Often, we don't have the time to actually read as many books as we would like. I know that I'm at my limit for how much I can read, and this way, you can absorb the most important, valuable information from books in just 15 minutes, maybe on your way to work, maybe on your way to the gym, maybe cooking vegan recipes at home, whatever is your thing. And our audience can get a 7-day free trial by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you're watching on YouTube, I've put a link in the video description. And after the free trial, if you like it, and I think you will, you can continue enjoying thousands of condensed audiobooks for just about $5 a month. You can go to blinkist.com/PAKMAN to sign up.